Hey everybody, welcome into the Thinking Crypto podcast, your home for cryptocurrency news and interviews. I'm your host, Tony Edward. On your way in, please hit that subscribe button as well as the thumbs up button and leave a comment below. If you're listening on a podcast platform such as Spotify or Apple, please leave a 5-star rating and review. Folks, we got some very big news, so please watch and listen to the end. First, let's start with data coming out from CryptoQuant stating that Bitcoin whales are accumulating at the fastest rate since April of 2023. So, with this correction in the dip, you saw a lot of retail get fearful and they're selling and they're thinking the bull market's over, but smart money and whales are accumulating. Now, I validated this data myself with Santiment, who's a partner of the podcast. And you can check out Santiment with a link in the description. But what the data from Santiment is telling us is that wallets with 10 or more Bitcoin have been increasing despite the price going down. Whales are buying, guys, and the data doesn't lie. This is not my feelings or emotions. The other factor is that the Bitcoin supply in exchanges is at a low. So it was at a peak in March of 2024. This is why this is a good signal to look at when you're cashing out. Where are we in the market cycle? What are the whales doing? Because they are looking at charts and data. They're not playing a guessing game and working with their emotions here. This is what I try to teach here on this podcast. Leave your emotions at the door and tell it. Let's look at the data. What is it telling us? So the supply on exchanges continues to go down. That's a very bullish sign. And I think a reversal is coming very soon, as I've been saying over the past episodes. And it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Bitcoin could go a bit further down, or maybe it has hit its bottom. And I think we're going to start to see a V-shaped recovery. I think we're still in a bull market. We're still in an uptrend. There hasn't been any major invalidation of the bull market. So this is what the data is telling us, guys. Now, let's move forward. We got big news from Goldman Sachs, and this was actually news broke by Fortune magazine. Goldman Sachs to launch 3 tokenization projects by the end of the year, says their digital assets chief. Folks, we are seeing the largest institutions in the world capitulating to crypto. They are building financial products and they're taking the blockchains and building on them. Obviously, BlackRock is the one that opened the door for the rest of these big firms because they launch an ETF. They are tokenized the fund on Ethereum. They are working with Circle and their USDC reserves and so forth. So BlackRock is all in. But we've been waiting to see which other big players like Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan and so forth, what else would they do? How would they enter the market? So Goldman Sachs, they're capitulating, folks. The people who have been criticizing crypto and saying it's garbage and nonsense and a fad are now doing a 180. So this is incredibly bullish. Let me give you some details. Goldman Sachs is reportedly making moves into crypto with plans for the 150-year-old bank to launch 3 tokenization projects by the end of the year. Fortune was the first to publish the news, quoting Goldman's digital assets global head Matthew McDermott. Details of the funds were scant, but reportedly one will target the US fund sector while another will focus on European debt markets. The firm is also said to be planning to create marketplaces for tokenized assets. Rivals like BlackRock, Franklin Templeton, and Fidelity have all recently made splashes in the real-world asset tokenization space. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink said tokenization is the next generation for markets a few months before the asset manager launched its blockchain-powered treasury product, BUIDL, which recently surpassed $500 million in market value. Franklin Templeton has separately launched a yield-paying on-chain fund and related Benji token on the Stellar and Polygon blockchains, while Fidelity International tokenized shares in a money market fund. Unlike many of its competitors, McDermott said that Goldman is primarily focused on using permissioned networks rather than fully decentralized blockchains like Ethereum. This is due to regulatory concerns. The firm first began working with permissioned blockchain networks in 2021. Now, that's a key important factor there. They're not using a public blockchain, right? Because they're worried about regulatory concerns. So they're not saying they don't want to use it. They're just saying we're going to be cautious right now because we don't want to run the risk of any type of regulatory issues, maybe probably with the SEC, right? And what we saw recently is that BlackRock's CIO said they tested both private permission blockchains as well as public, and they found public to be better. That's why they started tokenizing on Ethereum. So, guys, very bullish. I hope you see what's taking place right here. This is not making major headlines on CNBC, Fox, and CNN and so forth. But this is why you need to do your research and look at what the major chess pieces are doing here. These global financial giants, and all signs point to adoption. They're building financial products around these crypto assets. They're building with the technology. And the way you can benefit from this is by holding the token of those public blockchains that they build on. I think Goldman will eventually move to public blockchains once the regulatory clarity is there. So very bullish news, guys. I'm so blown away by the big names that are capitulating globally. So McDermott has long been an advocate for digital asset transformation, especially blockchains. The 19-year veteran of the Wall Street giant helped spin up its digital asset desk in 2021 and led efforts to introduce its cash-settled crypto derivatives trading products. Very bullish news, guys. And I've often talked about game theory on this podcast. You have one player that moves and no one wants to get left behind. It's now becoming a race to see who can launch the best product. And, for years, I've been telling you guys we're headed to the token economy, and I wasn't kidding. Everything will be on the blockchain. Your house, your mortgage, your insurance plan, stocks, commodities, bonds, everything tokenized on the blockchain. 24/7 trading, global markets, no more opening and closing bell on Wall Street. And you're going to have secondary and tertiary markets opened up with DeFi and much more. There's so much potential here. And that's what these guys recognize. And BlackRock was the first that started the race here. And now these big players are jumping in. And of course, guys, like we've seen in throughout history, and just I guess the most recent big example was during the .com era, where Blockbuster did not adapt to the internet, and Netflix came and stole their lunch, and they went out of business. Right? Same thing's going to happen here. If these guys don't get blockchain right, if they don't start making a move here, they will lose market share, and there's the potential of them going out of business, because this is the way markets and the future of commerce and technology is moving. Now let's move ahead. We've been reporting over the past week or so that we had two big hearings today. First was the oversight of digital commodities with CFTC Chairman Rostin Behnam. Second was Khanna's crypto roundtable with Mark Cuban, Democrats, people in the White House and the Biden administration, and crypto industry leaders. Let me share some of the takeaways. First, Kristen Smith, who is the founder of the Blockchain Association, says today's roundtable led by Representative Khanna with crypto leaders and White House representatives was a thoughtful step forward for crypto in DC. She says key points I shared: the crypto voter is real. The crypto advocate is active. The crypto industry is mature. It's working. Let's keep up the momentum. Now, Ripple's CEO Brad Garlinghouse, who attended, also shared his thoughts. He says, thank you to Khanna for being an exceptional leader and engaging with the crypto industry. This morning's crypto roundtable, bringing together folks like Mark Cuban, Paul Grewal, Dante Disparte, etc., with the White House and key congressional leaders such as Senator Kirsten Gillibrand and Representative Joe Neguse, is hopefully the first step in moving from words to actual action. Unfortunately, the majority of Democrats continue to enable Gary Gensler's unlawful war in crypto, sabotaging the ability for American innovation to thrive. It's no wonder the GOP has announced a pro-crypto stance. Gensler will go down as a Luddite of his time. Words are easy. Action is hard but necessary. Choose wisely. Voters are paying attention. Brad is spot on here. And I think the Democrats, as I've been saying, shot themselves in the foot by following Elizabeth Warren's anti-crypto army nonsense. Obviously, it's not only Elizabeth Warren, it's Sherrod Brown and some of these other clowns, and not to mention the biggest clown, which is Gary Gensler. So We're going to talk about some other things here. Trump is going to be speaking at the Bitcoin conference and so forth. But quick word from our sponsor, and that is VeChain. VeChain is one of the top layer one enterprise blockchains out there, guys. They're working with many big companies and brands around the globe. Many companies are using VeChain to build incredible Web3 applications, decentralized application ecosystems, and much more. Some of the key features of the VeChain blockchain is it is secure, affordable, scalable, fast, and sustainable. Some of the brands working with VeChain include Givenchy, BMW, as well as Walmart China and Boston Consulting Group, and in addition to PwC and many others. The list goes on and on. So they're getting major adoption, guys. And I'm a VET token holder. I'm very bullish on this project. I've been holding the token since 2018. I've not sold because I believe it's one of those long-term bets. Don't get me wrong, I may take some profits in this cycle, but I'm betting on this project because of the real world adoption that they're getting. So if you'd like to learn more about VeChain, go to vechain.org or check out the link in the description. All right, guys. Now, Chair Behnam of the CFTC made some very bullish statements today that are in direct contrast to what scumbag regulator Gary Gensler would say. In his testimony, he says an Illinois court confirmed that Bitcoin and Ethereum are digital commodities under the Commodity Exchange Act. He also says that 70 to 80% of the crypto market are non-securities. 70 to 80%. Wow. As opposed to Gary Gensler saying these things are all securities and they need to be under the legislation of the SEC and all kinds of nonsense, right? So this is a big loss for Gary Gensler that these statements are being put out there. It's a direct contrast to what he has to say, but we know the game with Gary, right? He's reporting to Elizabeth Warren. He's been weaponized to try to kill many of these startups, slow them down so that JP Morgan's Onyx blockchain and JPM coin can come in and take over it. That's the game. TradFi incumbents, weaponizing their buddies, people they've given campaign donations to for years to come in and help protect them, help save them from the disruptors. But we've seen throughout history, disruptive technology always wins. Now, there was also Fed Chair Jerome Powell who spoke today, and Congressman Wally Nickel, who I've had on the podcast. He's a Democrat out of North Carolina. He asked Fed Chair Jerome Powell, can you commit to directing your staff to finalize and support passage of stablecoin legislation this year? Fed Chair Powell said, we will be all in on working with you to get that done. Wow. Folks, could we see something this year? Stablecoin regulation. We know the market structure bill FIT 21 is out of the House. It has to go to the Senate. Could this be done this year? Even if it's just stablecoin legislation, that would be huge for the market. I think that will pour fuel on the bull market fire, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to try to get Representative Wally Nickel back on the pod to talk about this. Exciting times, guys. I mean, to hear this from Jerome Powell is great because, he's not entirely focused on crypto. He's obviously running the Fed and they're dealing with inflation and we're waiting for rate cuts and so forth. But the fact that he's saying, we're going to work with you to get this done, that's very bullish in my opinion. Now, guys, Donald Trump will be speaking at the Bitcoin 2024 conference. That's July 25th to the 27th. This is amazing. And when I say this is amazing, people sometimes take that wrong. They think, oh, I love Trump, or, if I make a statement about Biden, you love Biden, because people get very emotional and charged up about politics. But the lens I'm looking at this through is crypto, the adoption of crypto, that crypto, as I've been saying, has become ubiquitous. It is appearing in politics, in TradFi, in pop culture, in society. So it's not so much Donald Trump, the man, but the fact that a Republican presidential candidate will be speaking at a crypto conference. I mean, how far we've come, and that's the takeaway, and how that this is the future and how bullish I am, guys. So this news was confirmed just this evening. Incredible stuff here. And here's some interesting data being reported by Eleanor Terrett. The data actually came from Paradigm, which is a crypto investment firm. And it's about a poll of Republican crypto voters finds that 13% not currently planning to vote for Donald Trump say his newly stated crypto positions make them more likely to vote for him. Wow. Democrats screwed up. They really, really screwed up. And even people who are Republicans or who are on the fence, about Donald Trump, are saying, you know what? Yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to vote for him because on this issue. And I'm not saying it's a number one issue. Obviously, for the majority of Americans, it's about the economy, border, and different things, right? But this is there, but this is up there on that list. I think maybe it could be in the top five for some people because if they're putting their investment money and capital in this technology and they're just looking to invest, they see it as a technology, and you have Elizabeth Warren, Gary Gensler, and Biden, all these people attacking it and making it seem like it's the devil or something, right? They've become these extremists about just technology, so it's pretty pathetic. This will force people to vote for Trump. So, like I said, Democrats screwed up big time. All right, moving ahead, Paul Grewal, Chief Legal Officer at Coinbase, gave a great update here. He says, a busy, busy day ahead. First up, Coinbase filed an amicus brief in support of LegaleX and the Crypto Freedom Alliance of Texas suit against the SEC's overreach and regulation by enforcement campaign towards the digital asset industry. So if you guys recall, I had reported on this. LegaleX, which is a startup crypto exchange, they sued the SEC with the Crypto Freedom of Alliance of Texas to get clarity. Is Ethereum a security or not? Can you tell us what is a security or not? Because the SEC refuses to do that. So Coinbase is adding an amicus brief here. This is great. Years back, the industry was not organized. They were not supporting each other. At one point, Ripple was on an island by itself fighting the SEC, but then people started coming together and backing Ripple and then backing each other up. So this is great. We have to collectively fight the SEC because it's become corrupt under Gary Gensler. It's become very political, obviously. So really great to see this. And the industry's putting the pressure on the SEC. They're countersuing. So they're not just taking, punches from the SEC. They're saying, oh yeah, we're going to punch back. We're going to sue you left and right from different states, in different ways and so forth. So this is why Congress, I think, is going to be forced to act. You have a government agency getting sued by an entire industry. That's such a horrible, bad look. It's pretty pathetic. Final item here, City of Santa Monica opens Bitcoin office to explore Bitcoin education for its residents. Guys, this is why I've been saying crypto's become ubiquitous. Appearance in pop culture, society, TradFi, politics, it can't be ignored anymore. And I'm here to ride the wave, folks, and make some great returns. And I hope that you get a lot of value out of these podcasts and the information I'm sharing here, sharing the news and the facts and who's doing what, who's making what moves, and obviously being smart with how you invest, avoiding the emotional roller coaster and looking at the data. So let me know what you guys think about this news. Leave your thoughts and comments below. I would love to hear what you guys got to say. And a great way to support me in the podcast, guys, is to buy a copy of my book on Amazon. If you haven't already, it's available in paperback and digital. It tells the story of crypto. It provides investment tips and much more. Grab a couple copies, one for you, one for your friends and family, so that if they want to learn about crypto. If you bought a copy already, please do me a favor and add a rating and review. That will really help. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and I'll talk to you all later.